Welcome back, everybody. I finally got the new Airmarksman Slugs, so let's talk about these for a little bit. These are a 40.1 grain round nose boat tail, and they're amazing. I've had the prototypes for a couple weeks, and I've been able to shoot them in competition and stuff like that, and they're solid. What makes these so great for me, at least, is they're not so picky on what kind of tune setup you have going on. I was able to get these to group from around 980 feet per second all the way up to about 1,000, and I was messing with regulator pressures, hammer spring, tension, all of that, and they grouped pretty much with every settings I had, but I was able to get them really dialed in at around 984 FPS. But the BC was incredible. The ballistic coefficient was 0.273. It's the highest BC slug that I've been able to shoot so far, and it's incredible. These are swaged down in Medford, Oregon at Corbin. So if you guys don't know who Corbin is, they manufacture the presses and dies, punches, and all of that for a lot of different manufacturers of centerfire projectiles, but they also have been getting into a lot of airgun stuff. So that's where my press and all my dies come from, is Corbin Manufacturing, and the quality is top notch. One of the reasons that swaging is so incredible is because every slug that I press is extremely consistent with the next and the next and the next slug. I can press an entire tin of slugs and they'll be almost identical. I don't have to go through them and sort them and everything like that, like some of the other manufacturers of slugs that I've had in the past. And so that's why I've been choosing to go that route for my competition slugs the last half a year or so. But now that Corbin has teamed up with Utah Airguns and Airmarksman, these are all made with that same process. But because of that, you have extremely low standard deviations, and that lends itself typically to a better accuracy. You're not going to have as many flyers and things like that. So these are the slugs. They come in a tin of 125, and there's also a little zeroing target in here. And something unique about these that was interesting is when I got them is if you listen, you don't hear anything. And that's because they are packaged twice, essentially. You open this up. First you get a little bit of foam padding, and then these are in a baggie. And then there's your zeroing target and another piece of foam down in here. I was kind of curious about why they chose to do this, but then I realized it's actually pretty genius because a lot of the damage that you're getting on slugs is during transport, typically. So when you put these in a bag and then you put them in here and take up all of the space, and they're not like banging into each other, you know, for hundreds of miles or however they're getting transported by UPS, you know, and they just love to throw your boxes around. They're not going to get as damaged up or damaged at all in this way. So when you get these, they come in the little baggie. Just take out the zero target and save that for later. And then you still have your foam in here, so now you can just empty this bag into the tin and then you're good to go. But this little extra step was pretty awesome in my opinion. You don't get as many in a tin as some of the other manufacturers, but I can guarantee you that you're not going to get the consistency and quality of slug in a tin from any other manufacturer. I've shot almost probably every brand of slug out there at the moment, and nothing comes perfect in any of those tins, and I'm constantly having to pull out the bad ones and things like that. But when you get these, they're pretty much perfect right off the bat, and then, you know, you don't have to worry about them getting banged up in transit. So I thought that was kind of cool. So also in the tin, you're going to get this little zero target. This is kind of a sticky back target that you can paste onto whatever you guys are shooting at, and it marks out what one MOA is at 50 yards. With a lot of these modern air guns, you should be able to shoot one MOA at 50, no problem. And so compared to some of the other slugs that I've pressed myself or just tested in general, they're not as picky as a lot of those would be. For example, my 34.5 grainers that I've been pressing for NRL 22, and I've used those for a while. They're a really accurate slug, but as soon as you kind of get it out of that peak zone, the group opens up immensely. So they're kind of picky, but these haven't been that way, at least for me. And so I've been really stoked about these. So this is the target I shot yesterday. These were at about 987 FPS, and yeah, pretty much right at 1M away. It was a little bit less, but I took my Panthera out of the box. I shot like 5 rounds just to get some air through it and get the reg going, and this was my second group of the day, and it was incredible. So yeah, that's just a quick preview of what you get when you buy a tin of these slugs. So I put a link for Utah Airguns down in the description. That's where you guys are going to end up picking these up. And then Airmarksman does have some other slugs available as well, and these are a hollow point dish-based slug. These ones in particular are the 33 grainers, but they do have a 29 grain available as well, and these are also swaged by Corbin, so the quality is also incredible. Anything that comes out of Corbin's shop is top-notch, and so I'm pretty stoked that these are coming to the market, and so other people can experience that, like what a swaged slug is and what it can do, and what kind of performance gains you can get from a setup like that. So thanks for sticking around. I'll see you guys on the next one.